If you open any news app today, you will literally see wars, economic collapse, threats of nuclear confrontation, political systems unraveling, climate disasters. It literally feels like the ground beneath us is moving. And what I want to ask you today is, did Jesus see this coming? Not as a metaphor, not as a vague spiritual warning. I mean, did he look at the exact moment in history we are living through and speak to it directly? Because I believe he did. And what he said is not what most people expect to hear. So let's get into it. When you open the Gospel of Jesus according to Matthew chapter 24, you see this passage: destruction of the temple and signs of the end of times. Here, the disciples had just pointed out the temple to Christ. It was one of the most magnificent structures in the ancient world. When Jesus saw it, he told them that it would be completely destroyed, shaken to the ground. Unsettled as they were, they then asked him the question that has echoed through every generation since then. Tell us, when will this happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? As it is in the 3rd verse of this passage. But then Jesus replied them in verses 6 and 8. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All this are the beginning of birth pains. Notice what Jesus does not say. He does not say these things will not happen. He does not say if you have enough faith, the world will be stable and peaceful around you. He says these things will happen. And he also says, do not be alarmed. Those two truths belong together, and separating them is where most of us go wrong. We tend to treat spiritual peace as the absence of trouble. If things are going well, God is near. If things are falling apart, God must be far away, or perhaps not here at all. But that is not what Jesus teaches, not once. Look carefully at the word he uses, alarmed. In the original Greek, the word is throeo. It means to be disturbed, to lose your inner grounding, to be thrown into a kind of inner chaos by external events. Jesus is not asking his disciples to be naive about the world. He is asking them not to lose their center when the world proves, once again, that it is unstable. And here is the deeper question. What does it mean to not be alarmed when the world is objectively alarming? Later in that conversation, Jesus gives us the anchor. Also in his gospel, according to John chapter 14, verse 27, hours before his arrest, he says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." My peace, not the world's peace, because the world's peace is materially conditional. It depends on circumstances being stable, on threats being absent, and on things going according to plan. The peace of Christ is of a completely different nature. It does not depend on the material circumstances, it precedes them. This is a divine protection that Jesus is offering, not a shield that keeps you from difficulty, but a presence that keeps you grounded in the middle of it. Let me offer you an image. You have likely seen footage of the eye of the hurricane. On the outside, devastating winds, destruction, chaos. But at the very center, silence, stillness, a strange, unexpected calm. The eye does not stop the hurricane. It does not pretend that the storm is not real. but inside it, you can breathe, you can orient yourself, you can see clearly. The peace that Christ offers is like the eye of the storm. He is not removing the hurricane of history, wars, famines, earthquakes, the collapse of systems we thought were permanent. He is offering us a center to stand in while all of that unfolds around us. The disciples sitting with Jesus on the Mount of Olives and looking out over Jerusalem were asking an incomplete question, though understandably so. They wanted a timeline. When will this happen? Jesus instead gave them something more valuable than a date. He gave them orientation. Do not be alarmed. Here is who I am. Here is what I'm leaving with you. Hold your center. Brother Paiva already understood this with extraordinary clarity when he wrote in Peace, the Personal Work of Jesus. Everybody is deeply concerned with the savagery that is spreading over the earth, looking for a solution that at least reduces violence, which has come out of hidden places from the shadowy dawn and taken over streets and homes, for it has invaded minds. However, today, one is becoming more aware that if there is violence, it is not just the problem of governments, of police forces, but a challenge for all of us, for society. If violence came out of the dark night and came to show itself in the light of day, it is because it lives in our innermost selves. By existing in our souls and hearts, it will manifest itself whatever human beings may be. I emphasize that we must deactivate the explosives remaining in our hearts. This is not passivity. It is not indifference to the suffering of others. In fact, the opposite is true. The person whose heart is grounded in Christ's peace is precisely the person who can act with compassion and clarity in the middle of a crisis, because they are not spending all their energy on their own panic. When the world shakes, the most radical thing a Christian can do is not to predict the timeline of the end. It is to refuse to be alarmed, to be that still point, that center, that eye of the storm that others can find their way to. Now, Jesus does not prevent us from praying for his intervention. Quite the opposite. He urges us to pray, but we have to do our part as he is already doing his. This is what Brother Paiva calls accomplishing faith. Faith that is not just believed, but lived in practice in the exact conditions that would seem to contradict it. I want to leave you with one question today. Not, are you worried about the state of the world? Because of course you are. We all are. That is a human response to a world that is honestly in pain. The question is, where are you when the world shakes? Are you standing on shifting ground, grounded in news cycles, in political outcomes, in the stability of institutions you once trusted? Or are you standing on the peace of Christ, the peace that does not come from material circumstances, but is given directly by the Divine Master to those who ask for it? He said in his Gospel according to John, chapter 14, verse 27, "Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." He did not say that lightly. He said it hours before he was arrested, tried, tortured, and crucified. Hours before the wars that history could produce came for him personally, and he was still offering peace, because his peace does not come from this world. If this reflection helped you, share it with someone today. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you next time. For now, whatever you are, whatever is shaking around you, receive that peace. Not as a feeling, as a choice, as a posture, as a place to stand. May the peace of God be upon you today and always.